What's up, guys? And thanks so much for tuning in. This is just going to basically be a prolonged series of an extensive deep dive into just, how you can be more efficient with your leg training. We can do this with any individual body part, but it seems to me that people always want to improve their legs. I want to improve my legs. People have a hard time kind of getting the most out of their leg training because it's a big and powerful muscle group, so it can be overwhelming. And I think it would be beneficial for all of you guys to kind of have just maybe a little bit of my insight, some of my information, so that you can take it to whatever you're doing with your training. Take that information, recycle it, turn it into something of your own, and apply it however you see fit. So you don't have to agree with everything that I say here, and that's not the purpose. It's just that we're kind of like going back and forth through this debate, and we're brainstorming together. We're in this current state of affairs, just as an intro to my actual leg session that I did film, where everybody's been away from the gym for a little while. And the question that is common right now is, where do I start? What should I be doing? And that's really up to you. You can do whatever you want. This is your training. I'm not going to make that decision for you, and I really don't care what you do. My main thing for all of you guys out there is that you're happy with what you're doing with your training and you're enjoying yourself. But if you are in the realm of wanting to produce results, wanting to be consistent with your training, we have to be realistic with where your body's at right now. And the truth is, it's been away from your normal training environment for a little while. I don't care if you have access to equipment and bands and some sort of resistance while you've been gone. It's still not the same as being in the comfortable training environment with all the weights, all the machines, all the functional trainers that you had before inside of your home gym that you had built your program around. It's just not the same. So from a central nervous system standpoint and from a skill standpoint, we're a little bit off the mark from where we were before. That's the realistic approach. With that being in mind, what I have done is I've filmed a leg workout where I'm taking the position of going into the gym, doing my legs for the first time, what I would do. And there's a couple of principles that I think are very, very important. Still keeping in mind that I'm trying to make the most intense workout I possibly can in that session, but also being aware that I'd like to come back the next day and do another training session on maybe different body parts at the exact same intensity. Then if I'm recovered enough, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So we're not looking at this singular workout as the one workout where we're going to get it all back. We're looking at this long distance view that this is just a building point and a foundation for a little better and a little better and a little better. These principles are really simple. Number one, the skill of training. So these movement patterns I haven't done in a while. So I'm just trying to be efficient every single inch of that range of motion. And in order to do so, I'm slowing down the movement. Now, there's a couple things I'm considering. Concentrically, okay, trying to be really efficient with my contractions driving through. I realize we're not training chest, but it's the one thing that you can see. Okay, so whether that means that my pace concentrically goes down a little bit, so be it right now. I haven't earned the right to be driving things because it's been a while since my nervous system has handled loads and again, these ranges of motion in quite some time in this normal training environment. Secondarily, the eccentric, I'm slowing that eccentric down, and for a lot of those movements where the actual exercise is hardest or most loaded, or my body is most vulnerable in these muscular extremes, I'm spending a little bit more time there. Whether it's just a pause or a 1 second pause or 2 second pause, I'm trying to take ownership of those hard ranges of motion because I know from a load standpoint, I'm not going to be as strong as I once was, probably not, but also I don't want to be. I want to find another way to kind of give my nervous system time to handle this volume, this skill, this time under tension, and this intensity. It needs to be an equal balance of everything. If one part of that circle is off, well, the circle is going to crumble, okay? The next thing you're gonna see is on paper, it's probably a little bit more volume than I would typically do just on a regular workout if I was training in the gym every single day in my normal program. For the most part, I'm kind of like I have a sprinter's mentality. I'm like, what can I do to be one and done here? It's all or nothing and move on. Because again, maintaining performance every day is super important to me. I like to train a lot, so I find a way where I can train a lot. That means not a lot of working sets. Well, you can't really do that because if we bog ourselves down from a systemic standpoint in the first exercise, then we're probably not going to be able to sustain that throughout the entirety of the workout. And I want to have high intensity from start to finish. So what I do is, the popular thing right now is there's a couple guys out there recommending like reps in reserve or things of that nature. You know, the reality is that stuff's been around forever. It's just somebody was smart enough to market it as a program. So what I'm doing is I'm just leaving reps in the tank, but I measure mine a little bit different. I kind of keep my repetition range in that 5 to 7 first, because I don't want to be doing a bajillion repetitions and coasting. Again, it's a sprinter's mentality. I would rather do 5 to 8 repetitions and have them all to be as hard as I can make them with a load that's kind of forcing me to have this output, than to be coasting for the first 10 repetitions out of a 20 rep set and only be really focusing and grinding for maybe the last 4 to 5. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for building a skill. I'm looking for a little bit of neurological demand. I think this is the best way to do so personally. But also, how do I know when I'm cutting the set? Well, I'm cutting the set for the most part in one or two ways. When I feel like there's a form breakdown, so on unstable exercises like maybe a free weight squat or something like that, when I have a technique breakdown, cut the set because we want perfect reps. Or concentric rep speed. So let's say like I have a concentric rep that's like this, and the second one's like this, and the third one's like this, and then the fourth one's kind of like, that's where I'm cutting it. That's neurological fatigue. And again, I'm not wanting to bury my nervous system so deep in one single set to where I can't come back the next set or go to another exercise and still perform a high level. So again, it's that long distance mindset of making sure they have the goal of high performance throughout the entirety of today and the days to follow. Okay, so those are a couple key principles that are going into this actual training. The workout is very simple. We're going from a hamstring exercise and a seated leg curl into another hamstring exercise into a lying leg curl. So essentially from a knee flexing standpoint, we're training the hamstrings in a range of motion that can produce a lot of force in the lengthened position with the seated leg curl, into an exercise that they are not quite as strong in the lying leg curl. So I'm just prioritizing what I think I'm going to get the most out of it. You're welcome to change those up. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way that I prefer them, okay? Then we're going to go into a hack squat, and the hack squat is reverse banded. I'll do a little deeper dive into why and the whole deal behind the hack squat, as I will with all these exercises. And then after doing the hack squat, and keep it simple and finish the quads off with a dynamic exercise in the prowler that is quad biased. The prowler has a ton of versatility, which I will dive into as well. But in this case, we're doing the prowler at a lighter load. Everything across the board was 3 working sets. Like I said before, they were somewhere between like that 5 to 8 rep range. And I was using pauses and just really being strict about technique concentrically and eccentrically to make this workout worth my while. The reality is I'm shooting this video the day after. Okay, I did this workout yesterday, and I'm actually pretty sore. Now, that's not an indicator that it was a good workout. Could be an indicator that I underate, but I highly doubt it because I didn't miss any calories yesterday. So all in all, it was a pretty good workout. To summarize this whole deal and wrap it up is don't be discouraged. Don't feel like you've taken a step back. This is an opportunity for you to be reminded of the important things in your training program that actually really matter. And that's the skill, that's management of these loads, that's being aware of the benefit of every exercise selection and spending time where it's hardest. And that's sustaining some sort of high performance from start to finish. If you're managing those right now at the highest level you possibly can, and I guarantee that these results that you feel like you've lost, that you're in search of to get back so fast, they're going to come a lot quicker. Okay, so stay tuned for the next video. In the next video, we're going to cover the seated leg curl. I'm going to be doing some drawing on the whiteboard, and I'm going to do that for all the sequential exercises that came later in the workout. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys learned something, and as always, you're welcome to ask me questions anytime you like.